The world is going faster.
Data is growing exponentially.
We need answers now.
How can AI help?
We need more data.
We need JGP.ai.
Welcome to this talk. We're going to talk about building enterprise software, and I added today because I like that the acronym was making it a little bit better. So before we get started, I'm going to just introduce myself quickly. My name is Jean-Georges Perrin. So some people call me Jean-Georges, like my wife, my mom, and a lot of people also call me JG because it's much easier to pronounce. I've been doing software as a professional since 1995, and I took a serious stab at big data and AI, and now I'm looking at things a little bit more holistically, and we'll know why. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. I've been a safe architect for a short time now, and also a practitioner of both system design and safe for some time now. One thing that makes me particularly proud is that I've been an IBM champion for 13 years and running, and this has been renewed like a week ago. So you may have heard of me on this air before, and where I was talking about Spark as I wrote a book about Spark, and to be honest, in a very fair way, it's the best book on Spark. That's what Amazon says. Okay, so when you look at the ratings. So when I'm not giving talks or writing books, my main activity is being an enterprise architect for Advanced Auto Parts, and as part of the digital garage, our digital transformation as well. So, okay, that's it about me. There's a word of caution. This content is really new. This is something I had in my mind for a while, and it was great from the select group to let me experiment with this content on you guys. You're a bit of guinea pigs here. It's describing an approach to software engineering and architecting. It's possible that I missed a few things there, and I would be really honored and flattered if you could give me feedbacks via Twitter at JGPerrin. So that's a word of warning. Okay, so it looks like nobody left yet, so I assume that you're still interested. So I don't know if you guys know anything about Ayurveda. Ayurveda is this ancient, well, it's still in use, of course, but it started a very long time ago, ancient Indian medicine, okay, like a bit like a parallel and a predecessor to Chinese medicine, which is a bit more known. The idea is to have an holistic view of the medicine of your body and mind. And I think this is something that was missing in software. And this holistic view, this is what I tried to capture in this talk, and hopefully I didn't mess too much. So I like to come back with a history a little bit before. I'm a strong believer that in order to understand where we are, we need to look at the past. Of course, it's applicable to the world, as Martin Luther King Jr. was saying, or in software engineering. Okay, so and I'm pretty sure that what MLK had in mind when he said, we are not makers of history, we are made by history, the we was people. But if you translate that to enterprise systems, you could say something like enterprise systems are made by history. Okay, and this is also something we will talk more. So when we look a little bit back, I think it all started by black magic. Okay, we never knew really how it started, so that's a good supposition. You had spec writers, okay, because they knew better, right? They knew how to write stuff and describe things. You had project managers. Well, we didn't need to Scrum, okay? We need Gantt at that time, and you had that database administrator because they were just administrating database because that's where we store data. You had system administrators which were just managing the systems and making it, and of course you had developers who are producing code. This was for me a very compartmentalized vision of software. So it started by the spec writers. They know the business, okay, and they discuss with managers, and managers started to, at that point, managers were a little bit architect as well, and they were designing the software, and then they were talking to the database administrators, and from the database administrators you get a schema, an ERD schema, and the developers would start writing code from it. And finally, when you were ready for deployment, you would talk to your system administrator and say, hey, here's my code, please make sure that it runs on your production system. So you had this idea of, 5-ish group of people working together and in a process. And this process was really about creating this gated process. Okay, so I start by writing my spec, then I give it to the project manager / architect, then I'm giving it to the DBAs, then I'm giving it to the coders, then I'm deploying it. And this gated process, when was working, would have a certain duration. However, as you can imagine, or as you experienced it, it was not perfect. Okay, so something like something that was planned for 5 periods would easily go back to 7 because you miss a gate, and something was wrong, so you had to go back. Okay, and so that was one of the problem. Another problem was it scales poorly. So as you had many teams, okay, what something you could imagine that was going on a regular cadence was actually completely off track. Okay, and if you see here, my purple team was almost on time all the time. My orange team was late at the beginning quite a bit and delayed everybody else, while my blue team was always on time except for the last one. Okay, and you can imagine that who would be blamed is definitely the blue team because they could not deliver the software on time. But this cadence and this gated phase forced everybody to get a bit aligned. So, and there was also some demand for more control. So something like, this 5 gate process, okay, could easily become more as the evolution of software became obvious. You need more UX people creating this user experience we all need in software, which was something that was not really thought of before. And I place it here in the design, but it's often came later and after even the database design, so that created even more trouble. Of course, we all are more conscious and more demanding on infosec, okay, on security around our processes. So you had to add several gates in your process, and I just added 2 here for what could be gates for security after you design your application and before you deploy your application. And we know that doesn't work because we need more security. So that was kind of the constraint. And then everything was really also very database centric. Okay, so forgive me if this is something that looks obvious to you, but I'm going to look a little bit about why we started designing database centric system. Okay, I took a receipt here from your best auto parts store in town, and I'm going to cut it down a little bit. Okay, so first you could look at what the receipt itself was, and you can see that you've got a date, you've got a transaction ID, you've got a time, you've got a payment type, etc. Okay, so that's some of the information there you get from this ticket. You also have, of course, a detail of your receipt. Okay, so you see that I was big on washer fluid this time, and you see the coupons that can be associated to your transaction as well. Okay, there was a special on washer fluid, so buy one get one at 50% off. So that's why I've got these two different price on the discount in the screen you can see, and as I'm a team member, I got a special discount as well. So that's one of the perks we get as being employees. And of course, as you can see the details on the receipt itself here, you can also think about the store. Okay, so we've got 6,000 stores roughly. So all our stores have some special properties are going to be printed on the receipt. Okay, so that's a kind of a very simple way, and you can say, oh, okay, we put everything together, and as we put everything together, we can finally put some relations, and that's why we created this relation database. Okay, enough of a refresher on the third normal form. So, but what changed? Okay, and why did you get a refresher on the third normal form in relational databases? Well, the web came along, and we have this huge need for instantness. Everything needs to be instant, immediate, like right now, and so this drove the industry, our industry, in a different way. So first, I'd like to say that I love you, and the refresher on the relational database is just to make sure that you still understand that relational databases are still relevant in 2021. Okay, I don't want you to end up like this poor guy in South Carolina, actually, that was hospitalized after discovering all the good things about PostgreSQL and building his career on NoSQL. Okay, well, that was sarcasm, of course. So what I mean by that is, even if things have changed, you still can build, and you're building on your existing foundations. This is one of the critical parts in your career. Okay, so you don't have to unlearn things, except maybe a few things if you're coming from a waterfall background, but all this relevant knowledge is actually bringing you and accelerating you into this further development of your career. But what really changed is this idea of customer experience. Okay, so this is something that is driving the market right now. So you're not focusing anymore on the database, okay, and your development strategy when you're building software is not database oriented anymore, but it's customer oriented, because you're trying to build this great customer experience. And one of the things to start doing is to understanding your personas. So personas are fictitious characters that represent the different roles that are going to be using your applications. So here, Advent Autopart started an open source program recently, and we released an ETL tool called Data in the Fast Lane. And to build Data in the Fast Lane, we had a reflection about who is going to be using this tool. So we're having Sonia as a data scientist, we've got Shelly as a data engineer, and we've got Eric as the DevOps engineer. And they have different needs. And as we were building the software, we were thinking and keeping in mind and creating user stories about these different personas. This exercise is really called design thinking. You're thinking about the design. One tool that can be used for doing that is the empathy map. And this is a great tool where you can collect information about your prospective users and prospective consumers. Okay, consumers doesn't have to be B2C in a store. It can be, well, for us, it could be in a mechanical shop, or it could be internal customers as well. As, for example, I'm working a lot with marketing these days. So it's really about who are we empathizing with, what do they need to do, what do they see, what do they say, what do they do, what do they hear, how do they feel, how do they think about all that. Okay, so this is a great tool for trying to understand your customer. This is not a technical tool that a software engineer will do alone, but a software engineer or the architect takes this tool and start and take it forward with the product owner, with the consumer himself, etc. So, and then one important thing also, we are in 2021. Okay, so everybody's been doing some project. So even if someone here tells you, "Hey, I've got this incredible website to build, and it's from scratch," you're completely free of using what you want, and etc. etc. And you've got to be careful about that. Okay, projects from scratch do not really exist anymore, because you're starting your website, let's say an e-commerce website, okay, and then you add an interface to a CRM, you add an interface to a recommendation engine, and you can also for example, have an interface to a loyalty engine, okay, to drive more customers. So this is where those one way and the most obvious way to interface with the systems is via what we call microservices, which are using APIs. They exchange between the website and, let's say, the loyalty engineer. They exchange predefined payloads, and they also share endpoints, so they know what they're talking about. So this is really what we call integration. Okay, and integration is not the exception anymore. A few years ago, integration was probably not as popular as it is now, but is or as needed as it is now. But this is really the bread and butter of anything we're doing now. So at first it may look a little bit complex. Okay, why do I have to add this integration layer, which I materialized here as an API gateway? Well, the thing is, it had a lot of benefits. Among them, it allows you to loosely couple your application. So if you want to change one, it's going to make it easier. It also makes it gives you the availability for you to monitor the health of your microservices, of the services outside. Some of them may be outside of your realm. Okay, you can monitor and control the usage, and by that you can also add security. So now, if I want to replace one component, like I say, I'd like to replace my old loyalty engine, well, now I can have my super duper loyalty engine that rules everything. And what do I need to change between the two? Well, only at the API gateway level, I can just change a payload, and that's it. It's make my integration with a new component that fulfills better need for myself or a better experience for my customers, in a faster and a better way. As we want to keep it loose, and I would say, as an extension to the microservices, you can think about another model, another pattern, which is called the event stream model. So basically, in this scenario, you've got applications that are generating data. As you saw in the previous example with the microservices, it's a very transactional-oriented stuff. Okay, you've got the consumer of the service. In our previous case, it's a web service that is starting a transaction with one of the service. Here, you've got the application that is generating the data, and it posts the data into a topic. And this topic can be consumed by applications. The applications, they don't need to know each other about anything about them. Okay, and they don't even need to know about the applications that is generating the data. We only have to agree once more on the payload that is being exchanged between the different applications. So, as an example, imagine a point of sale system, okay, where you're going to a store, buying your favorite auto parts, and you're buying all these parts. You go to the register, you pay, and you are being sent via email a receipt, your receipt. You can have an e-receipt. Okay, so it's not. It's definitely not the point of sale that is going to open the mail in Outlook and send you the mail. Right? You got that. And it's not even the point of sale system that is going to be connected to the mail. It's an application that is going to listen on something happening, and they're going to take this message, this payload, and send you the mail. And exactly the same feeling, you can imagine that if I want to add your loyalty points to your system, well, I would listen to the same topic and say, oh, Joe got this, and I'm going to add him this wonderful 500 speed perks point, so he can benefit from the loyalty he proved to the company. So and you can imagine that, yeah, an email system and a loyalty system, they don't talk to one another. They don't have to talk to one another. Okay. Eventually, the loyalty system can send something, but some emails, but it's not directly loyal. So this allows you to build architectures that are more flexible, that are more real time. I'm not saying more near real time, and one of the additional benefit of that is that you can say goodbye to nightly batches, okay? Because nightly batches take time, they fail, they create some backlog, and they're pretty expensive to maintain.
Thank you for watching.
Get more by following JG Perrin on Twitter.
Check all talks on YouTube at jgp.ai/yt.